Hello. Now, we all know about units who we throw on teams, because they can perform well, but in reality, they fall short of your high expectations for them, which can often lead to very conflicted opinions about units and feeling like they're poorly designed, but you have to run them anyway. Because either you have holes in your teams that a certain unit needs to fill, like not having all the options available to you, or there just are simply not better options. As such, today we're going to be counting off the top 10 most frustrating units to use in Dokkan history. Now, of course, as always, please note that these lists are carefully calculated through an intense algorithm. And let's get on with the list. Let's go! And now coming in at number 10, we have LR Int Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. From the 6th year anniversary, of course. This is, of course, we're talking about his pre-EZA form, because his EZA is dominant. Now, of course, he came out alongside AGL UI Goku. I guess we don't need the bit for this one. And LR Evolution Blue Vegeta, he had a pretty good leader skill. He had solid super attack effects.
You know he had no defense. No defense what?
It was bad 5 years ago. It was bad 3 years ago. It was bad a year ago. It was bad. But that all aside, the main problem with LR Evolution Blue Vegeta was that he just was poorly designed. Now, he's got 10% base damage reduction built into his kit, and he builds up additional damage reduction upon getting hit. Now, it's somewhat worded weirdly, because you'd think he gets 20% damage reduction upon his first hit, but he actually only has 10, and then he gets 20, then 30, then 40. So he gets the damage reduction after he receives the hit, essentially meaning he needs to be attacked 4 times before he has his full damage reduction, which obviously is just poor design. He's also one of these units that were, back in older Dokkan where you get your ki after you perform the attack, not as you perform it, which is just not good. Because LR Evolution Blue Vegeta, contrary to popular belief, did struggle for ki occasionally, often enough to be noticeable. And while he did have 2 ki links prepared for battle in Royal Lineage, like UI Goku, the AGL LR had prepared for battle in Shocking Speed, he also just didn't really have a super dominant linking partner who he could be run alongside. When he first came out, AGL UI Goku had SGR UI Goku, the sign one, the global first. So in short, he really didn't have a really good linking partner until Golden Week, when obviously GT Hero Super Saiyan Vegeta came out. But obviously he had other things in his kit, like he didn't have Super Saiyan as a link. He only did Mega Colossal to all enemies in his active skill. His active skill didn't really hit all that hard because he didn't have an attack buff in it. It was just kinda But the main reason why he was frustrating is that damage reduction part. I promise you that. That's going to be LR Evolution Blue Vegeta. He's going to come in at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Now, coming in at number 9, we have World Tournament Goku. Now, World Tournament Goku had a really good leader skill when he first came out. He had no defense in his super attack effect. Now, we already know what I have to think about that.
Oh, you touched my tala.
Get out!
Now, let's cut straight to the chase. The main problem that pretty much everyone who was skeptical of him had with him was his high chance to guard. Without his guard, he's getting smacked. He's like a deer in the headlights, a lost little sheep, whatever. And not to mention, he's also building up slower because he builds up 20% defense every time he gets hit while his guard is activated. So he's losing out on that. And he also needs to get hit 10 times to fully build up his attack and defense. Just a ghastly restriction. Even in his heyday, it just wasn't great. And World Tournament Goku could easily get you killed. Not to mention that if you tried to use his own personal standby, it sucked, bro. The condition is horrendous. Turn 6 from his first turn, 59% HP or less. If this guy's in slot 7, you're waiting till turn 8. Good luck. But obviously he was still very, very good and like a top 3 TUR the entire year, basically, because of his super broken just revival passive, where he gets guaranteed guard, guaranteed additional super, 150% attack and defense. He became cracked after that revive, especially when you paired him with the 8th anniversary GT duo, which is just great pairing, because they're obviously on his team alongside LR Bulma, which just made a great team. But World Tournament Goku, when he's not clicking and he's not working and you're getting unlucky, he is not a fun unit to use. Unless you think dying is fun, which if you do, have at it. He's going to come in at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Now, coming in at number 8, it is LR Super Saiyan Goku, Gohan, and Trunks from the 2024 worldwide download celebration, I guess, whatever it's called. Now, they had a solid leader skill. It wasn't great, but it was a pretty solid leader skill with pretty good options. Not very many good slot 1 options, but still a solid little team. Now, super attack effect, listen. 12 key, no defense. This actually mattered because they get additional super attack procs as a part of their passive, which just, okay. Now, they're a great unit. Do not get me wrong. The fact that they can buff all allies, if there's 2 of them on the team, by 154% defense, that is broken for 2 turns. 1 on each rotation, and you just have that. The problem with them is that they don't do damage, and they die. Point blank, period. They can be manageable defensively, provided that you super attack and you get their 18 key stack every rotation. But if they got supered by a big time boss, they kind of just, deer in the headlights again. They just die. And it doesn't help that their standby, which makes, Goku, who's super good defensively, or he was super good defensively, a very tanky unit, 59% damage reduction, guard, all that. But he only lasts 3 turns. Which is the only big relevant standby that lasts for so little. They also got power clipped almost instantly by Carnival LR Gohan. Also, once you unstood by, whatever, you lose your 18 key super attack effect buffs. So they're back to being a deer in headlights. Extremely liable to death. They're a great unit, but they just have flaws and just interesting choices, which lead them to be number 8 on this list. Now let's move on to number 7. Coming in at number 7, it's LR Super 17. You know him. I know him. We all love him. Now moving on to number... No, I'm trolling. He leads GT bosses, but oddly gets buffs from target Goku. He's got literally no super attack effects, no defense, but not just no defense. He just basically doesn't have super attack effects. 17% damage reduction after he gets hit. Yeah, okay. Has to reproc it every other rotation, basically. Just a ghastly active skill. I've talked about LR Super 17. I mean, no big bad bosses. I've talked about him so much, it feels like we all know why he's here, right? He's just frustrating. You could argue him way higher. He's going to come in at number 7. Let's just move on to it. Anybody else?
Nobody can beat me when I'm Super Vegito!
Now, coming in at number 6, we have LR Tech Super Gogeta pre-Easy A. Now, LR Tech Super Gogeta, they were really good pre-Easy A. Their base form was really solid. They were basically in base, they were just as good as the LR base STR Super Vegeta. They basically did the same thing. They could create rainbow orbs. It was really nice. Now, the main problem is their fusion active skill being turn 4, 70% HP or more. In their heyday, it was very hard in hard content to be above 70% or more HP on the 4th turn. Now, obviously you could circumvent that with items, but I'd argue just because you can use an item does not make something good designed. But say, you fuse, you get into LR Tech Super Gogeta and he's, wow, Pog. The main problem with him is that he only has 5 turns of Scouter, whereas STR Super Vegito gets 10 turns. And while Gogeta is way better defensively than STR Vegito, the Scouter would often run out in fights before the fight was over. So on those last couple turns, you're SOL. And then it just kind of led into such a big debate between STR Vegito and Tech Gogeta, who was better. And honestly, it was one of the most controversial, quote-unquote, rivalries in the game's history.
I have a video on that, by the way.
Anyways, it's going to be LR Tech Super Gogeta. He's going to come in at number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Now, it is a real darn shame to say this, but coming in at number 5, we're going to have the LR Physical Busaga duo of Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. Now, in a vacuum, this unit is when they came out, they were really good. Amazing leader skill, defense, stacking defense, so awesome. Amazing damage, super beautiful animations. Really good standby. Vegeta's in the standby. He was so tanky. And the Spirit Bomb was just a complete nuke. But in practice, as we kind of got into the harder fights, it was just super obvious that the LR GT duo is just way better. Despite this unit stacking defense and the GT duo stacking attack, the GT duo would often be more tanky because this unit, for every super attack performed, built up crit chance, while the GT duo built up damage reduction. And this unit just simply could not stack their defense fast enough because their numbers were just too low for what they started out as. And on top of that, they were punished a lot more for when you didn't get a 24 key, especially because losing out on those defensive stacks really hurts them bad. On top of that, once you stand by into Vegeta himself is literally, he was invincible. He could not die. But he was only one unit. He can't protect the rest of the rotation. So if the other units on your rotation die, I mean, you're just SOL. But the GT duo, the Vegeta, you just throw him in there and he just dies. And then you get a full revive and drop a nuke on the enemy. With these guys, you needed to like really manage your orbs very well, get their super big spirit bomb, the super spirit bomb. And it was just a lot of hoops to go through just to get something that was just worse than the LR GT Duo. And again, another big thing is they just died. They were too weak defensively, but they were still a great unit. And obviously, being one of the best units in the game, you're gonna bring them. But they really could not withstand the punishment of Slot 1 as a brand new Dokkan Fest Anniversary LR should. But yeah, that's going to be the LR Physical Buu Saga Duo. They're going to come in at number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Now, coming in at number 4, it is LR Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now, listen, LR Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku was not bad when he came out. He wasn't bad for a while, outright bad, but his design was not good. The main problems with this guy, since he needed to be in slot 1 and could not withstand the punishment of slot 1. He also needed to get hit 5 or more times in battle. But he, 5 dodge in unit, you can get unlucky. And it's even odder because he can oddly get part of his passive by dodging. But for the most part, once you stand by, you actually get him into Oob, and Oob is super solid defensively. Not super solid, he's super good defensively. And then you can pull out LR, full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the daddy that he is. And he can just, that first turn, he can just make it happen. He basically fully recovers your HP. His damage is really good, guaranteed crit, good defensively. After that, he kind of falls off because he loses guard and stuff. But, he's like really solid that first turn. But the main problem is, like, in base, if he gets hit 5 times, you're almost dead. You just die. When the Dismal Future Red Zone came out, I especially remember Goku Black. Goku Black obliterated this guy. He fodderized him. He embarrassed him. He bent him over and spanked him. This is not revisionist history. These are facts. And also, those fights aren't attacking that often, so it's hard to get your 5 hits. It's just not good. He was a very awkward unit. Like, he completely cucked the Omega fight. The When Wishes Backfire ain't Omega Shenron. He cucked him, which was just super unfortunate for him, but he was still a good unit and could be good. But, that's going to put him at number 4 on this list. Let's move on to number 3. Listen, I'm sorry, but I got to do it. Coming in at number 3, it's AGL UI Goku. The most... Yeah, you're trolling. You thought I put AGL UI Goku on here? It's obviously Tech UI Goku. I'm sorry. Listen, when Tech UI Goku came out, he was phenomenal. But even when he first came out, you could see the signs. Tech UI Goku was way more prone to dying than all the other best units in the game. But it felt like he was a must-run because of his super powerful domain, which, admittedly, his domain is great. But him being essentially dodge or die quickly reared its ugly head, and especially, I remember the flip switching in my head when Burst Mode Red Zone Kid Buu came out. I was a Tech UI Goku lover, and I switched so fast on him once that fight came out. I did it had to have been hundreds, maybe even 1,000 runs in Tech UI Goku. At least 60 to 70% of those runs I lost because of him. Tech UI Goku, he just dies. UI Goku units are not supposed to die. Like, in base, he doesn't suck, but he sucks. And I'm sorry if you think this is slander, but I don't think it's slander. I literally have hundreds of hours of running this guy against a hard fight. Now, admittedly, that is one of the hardest fights in the game's history. But come on. What are we doing? I mean, come on. We're trolling. And then you have to keep him on for 5 rotations from his first turn. Just so bad. I don't know why they gave him and AGL Broly these just dumb restriction. You need to survive and keep this guy on rotation until his 5th turn. And then, once you get Tech UI Goku out, he's the tech, Ultra Instinct, the wow. He was quite good. Obviously you have the domain, and now you're amping AGL UI Goku and LR Evolution Blue Vegeta and all these other units, just amping them up the butthole. And he's got guaranteed dodge for his first rotation. He's still kind of defensively after his first rotation, but he's doing so much damage with his counters that it almost doesn't matter. He can get like 97% dodge. I mean, unfortunately, his counters did like literally nothing to the Goku and Frieza fight. But still, like Tech UI Goku, once he came out, for those, turns, he had the domain out and, he canceled dodge nullification. He was good, right? But like, I'm sorry, Tech UI Goku's got to be here. I'm sorry. I've got too much film in my head to not have Tech UI Goku on this list. He's going to come in at number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Okay, now coming in at number 2, we have We Saiyans Have No Limits, LR Blue Goku and Vegeta. Now, one thing I'll start off with is their leader skill for the time was one of the best leader skills in this entire game's history. They had basically everyone on it. But I mean, we all know the main reasons that we have problems with this unit. One, they hit like a wet paper dog. I don't even know what that means, but you know what it means. They stack defense really slowly. They've only got their guard for their first 4 turns. But, during those first four turns where they have the guaranteed guard with their intro of a Future Saga ally, plus, you throw them in slot 1 so they have their full passive with the 50% chance to dodge, they're pretty good. Your brand new Dokkan Fest LR is still hitting for like 3 million attack stats, which is not good, but they're very good defensively. And they dominated the hardest fight in the game at the time, which was Red Zone merged Zamasu, one of the worst, hardest, most toxic fights in the game's history. The problem is once you ran, once those 4 turns elapsed and you were stuck with a quite literal dodge or die unit because their active skill condition is awful. Horrendous. It is just so asinine how they could put this on a unit. You can literally be stuck in with a dodge or die unit and not even get to the sweet candy that is Vegito for the entire fight. Likely because Future Saga category ally, worst case scenario is probably turn 7, but that is 2 rotations potentially where you have to be stuck in a dodge or die unit. Dodge or die is not fun, by the way. It's fun on some units, but it's certainly not fun on this unit because without their guard, they suck defensively. And it's so painful because we can see what they could have been in LRAGL Carnival Super Saiyan 4 Goku, who is just this unit with all their holes fixed. And he's amazing. Obviously, once if you could fuse and you got Vegito out, he was good for his heyday. I'd argue his damage was a little lower than I'd like, but he was good. Guaranteed dodge on his active skill, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, we all get the point with this unit. They're going to come in at number 2. Let's move on to number 1. Coming in at number 1, it is LR Tech Super Trunks. Now listen to me. This is the worst design garbage of a good premium designed unit I've ever seen in my life. He is so bad. When he first came out, day 1, his base form was horrendous, abyss, disgrace. I look at this unit with pure, utter disdain in my heart. He's got literally everything you could possibly hate in it. High chance to guard. We hate units with chances to guard. Even if he guarded, he still died. And then he needed the entire team to be built around him with Android/Cell Saga category allies to even be passable. Then you needed to perform 5 or more attacks, which is also another reason why you need the 3 or more Android Saga allies, because he gets an additional when that condition is fulfilled. You're basically transforming with this guy on turn 5 at the earliest. And that's with at least, dupes. So you can actually get additionals. If you had this guy 55%, good luck. And when this guy came out, he did not have the future Gohans to carry his scum, bum, horrific self. He is the worst kind of scum they could have possibly ever designed. Now, obviously, once, Super Trunks comes out, he's like, wow, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'll give it to him, right? He's obviously dominant. Ghost Usher active skill, a bajillion damage, bajillion defense, whatever. But it's just the amount of unfunnity that you have to deal with to use this guy. I just made that word up, by the way. I do that a lot. I say words wrong or I just make words up to fit my point. The amount of unfunnity you have to deal with to run this guy is just disgraceful. Easy, number 1. Brain dead, number 1. And he is going to round off this list at the number 1 spot. Let me know what you thought of my list down below, whether you thought it was perfect, as the algorithm would surely have it so. Let me know if you thought somebody was snubbed or if you think that the order should have been different. But of course, as always, thanks for stopping by.